if you ever get wheel wobble and you cannot seem to figure out where it's coming from, you look at your bell crank, you look at your differentials, all that stuff, and you can't figure it out, most likely it's the... What's going on, guys? Danny here from Cobra Racing. So in this video, as the title suggests, I'm going to go over 5 ways you're actually destroying your RC car. Now, I'm going to try to make this video as brief as possible, and hopefully we can, keep it under 5 minutes. With all that being said, all the products I'm going to be discussing today are meant for the Traxxas 1/10 scale 4x4, so just an FYI. Now, the first thing that destroys your RC car, and this is especially true if you're just starting out in the hobby, are the plastic drive shafts. Now, no surprise here, these are made of plastic and they're usually the first to go, right? But another reason why they're actually destroying your car, and most people don't know this, is a lot of times you have wear on the joint that connects to the wheel, right? That's basically what allows your, car to go up and down. There's a pin that's in the joint. And a lot of times what happens is that pin gets worn out and it puts a lot of added or unnecessary stress on your bearing, which in turn also affects your drivetrains, such as the differentials and all the gears. So if you ever get wheel wobble and you cannot seem to figure out where it's coming from, you look at your bell crank, you look at your differentials, all that stuff, and you can't figure it out, most likely it's the pin on the CVD. It probably went bad and it's causing a lot of wobble. Best way to fix that is to upgrade to high quality CVDs, such as the Cobra Racing constant velocity drive shafts. Take a look right over here. Super high quality, super durable, made of steel, adjustable, adaptable, as you can see. And if you're looking for CVDs, these are a lot of CVDs for the money. Moving on to number 4 is the bell crank. For those that don't know, or again, just starting, the bell crank is basically the steering component on your car, and it's what, allows you to go left and right? Pretty simple. With the stock plastic bell cranks, first of all, they come with bushings, not bearings, right? You cannot put bearings in those, and that causes a lot of issues with steering. It doesn't steer well, or the steering doesn't snap back to where it's supposed to, right? If you take a left, it gets stuck in left, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to show you the Cobra Racing bell crank right over here. This particular bell crank comes in blue and chrome, as you can see, but we also have it in multiple colors, such as green and chrome, black and chrome, red and chrome, so on and so forth, right? And this is the underside of the bell crank. Now, the reason why the stock OEM bell crank is an RC killer, and this is actually the most important one, is that the stock bell crank doesn't come with a servo saver. Now, if you don't know what a servo saver is, it's basically what prevents shock going to your actual servo and stripping the servo gear. Basically, if you take a big jump, right, and then you land, that's a lot of shock and it's a lot of stress on the servo. And if you don't have a servo saver, you're going to end up stripping all the gears in the servo. So now, not only do you need to change the bell crank, you also need to change the servo as well. And when I say servo saver, this is basically what it looks like. Right over here, if you take a look, there's a spring, right? And this is the adjustment screw. And basically you can tighten or release the adjustment, based on your preference, based on how tight you want it or how loose you want it. So this little thing over here is potentially going to save you a lot of money down the road. Moving on to number 3, basically it has to do with the actual differentials on your car, and more particularly it has to do with shimming your differential. Whenever you install a differential in the housing, you have the ring gear for the rear and then you have the output pinion for the front, right? And these gears need to mesh with the gear of the differential, and you need to have like a pretty tight mesh, right? It's the same with gear mesh for the motor pinion and the spur. With the differential, you also need to have a tight mesh. And if you don't have a tight mesh, the gears basically are going to be slamming on each other, and you're going to end up either stripping the gear on the differential, or you're going to strip the gears, the ring gear or the output pinion gear. Now, another way to shim the differential, again, I'm using the Cobra Racing differential as an example, but another, and this is more critical than the other shimming, is basically shimming the inside of the differential. So how can you tell if you need to shim the differential? So take this differential here and then move it back and forth, right? If you notice play, right, the gears are basically, playing inside, then you need to shim the differentials. And improperly, or if you don't shim the differential, you're going to end up having failures at the output gear, and this is going to snap off. You don't want that. We do have a guide on shimming on our website, so I'll make sure to drop that in the description as well. Moving on to number two, and this is a big one, and this one has to do with gear mesh, and either gearing up or gearing down. So what is basically gearing up or gearing down? If you take a look at this RC car right over here, you have the spur right over here. This is the carburation spur with eliminator, and then you have the pinion. I can't really see the pinion right over here, right? That's the motor pinion. And basically this motor pinion is meshing with the spur gear, right? If you mesh too tight, which means if the pinion and the spur are too close, right? They're too tight, that's going to cause a lot of heat. And this heat is going to transfer over to the motor, and then you're going to have a smoke show, right? You're going to fry your motor. Now, if you don't mesh too tight and it's too loose, then you have the pinion basically banging on the spur, right? And then you're going to strip either the spur or the pinion, or maybe both, right? So improper meshing is a huge issue, and a lot of people don't know how to properly mesh. The easiest way to mesh is basically take the motor pinion, put a piece of paper in the middle of the spur, and then just close them up tight, and then just screw it into place and then test it, right? One way you can tell if you meshed correctly is you need to have a little bit of play, but not too much. Like, listen to this. And then when I turn it, it's not too tight and it's not too soft. You hear that? And then again, if I just, play with it, just like that, you can hear a slight ticking. So you want a little bit of play, but not too much play. Now, me personally, I don't really like to use the clutch assembly, the clutch on these systems. Usually what I like is I like to use the spur with the eliminator, which basically eliminates the clutch. So, it allows me to, do wheelies on demand, do tricks and all that stuff. So I prefer the spur with the eliminator. And then if I want to take it to the track and I want to do like speed races and all that stuff, I do prefer the center differential by Cobra Racing. So take a look. This is the Cobra Racing center differential. Pretty awesome. This, by the way, does not come pre-filled with oil. If you're bashing, I would recommend anywhere between 100 to 200,000 oil weight in this. And then if you want to do speed runs and if you want to race and all that stuff, I'd recommend anywhere between 500K to 1 million oil weight on this. Just an FYI. Now, the number one killer of RC cars, and this one should be obvious as well, is this right over here. Take a look. The fan, the motor fan, ESC fan as well. And this one is actually a big one, guys. Motors should not run hotter than anywhere between 160 to 180 degrees. You can probably push it to 200, but anything over 200, you're basically going to get a smoke show, right? You're going to fry your motor. And one of the best ways to avoid having this particular issue, again, as I mentioned, is to get a fan. This is the Cobra Racing fan. This one is the chrome one, by the way. The one I showed you installed on the car is the black one. We also have them in multiple different colors. And basically, this is a heatsink slash fan slash radiator combo. And this fan is pretty awesome. I mean, it's pretty powerful for this type of fan, right? So what is the purpose of a heatsink? The main purpose of a heatsink is to basically divert heat from the motor can over to this piece of metal, right? And then you have all these spokes. Look at all these spokes. So this is to increase the surface area of the heatsink, right? So the main purpose of the heatsink is to divert all that heat from the motor can over to the, to the aluminum. And then all this heat gets dispersed over to these spokes. And then the fan does not heat the motor as most people think. The fan actually heats the heatsink, cools the heatsink, right? So that's really the main purpose of a heatsink. So in order to get the most efficiency from a motor fan, I highly recommend, and I'm willing to bet that 90% of people out there don't actually do this, but I highly recommend using a thermal paste. And the main job of the thermal paste is to basically draw heat, right? It sucks all the heat from the motor, and it sucks it onto this heatsink, right? This heat, in turn, as I mentioned, will start flowing up to all these, and then the fan actually cools the heatsink. So if you do decide to purchase a fan or to replace your fan or whatever, right? Don't just put the fan on the motor, purchase some thermal paste. It's actually relatively cheap. I think you can get some for like 10 bucks off of Amazon. Just get something that's good, something that's CPU grade, because those are usually, made to handle, crazy heat, right? So use that, put it on the fan, and then just snip it into place, and you're good to go. And as I mentioned, using thermal paste will increase your efficiency anywhere between 20 to 30%. If you guys are interested in picking up any of the products that I mentioned in this video, I am going to drop the links in the description, so make sure you check those out when you have some time. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this in the future, don't forget to hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.